Hello YouTube, this is a February 2019 updated Pendulum Magician deck profile. I have a couple new cards in the extra deck and I made a couple changes in the main deck from my last video, so tell me what you think and please enjoy the video. So to start off, nothing has changed with triple Master Cerberus and double Jackal King. Master Cerberus is a good card. I mean, you search Jackal King to get Master Cerberus out there for your Electromite play, but Jackal King is really the one to focus on because you can leave Jackal King out there. You don't have to necessarily use it for extra deck material. You can just leave it for its negate and destroy effect. Pretty much a solemn strike, quick effect. Pretty solid Jackal King. We got 3 Chronographs and a Time Gazer. You're popping Chronograph to special Time Gazer from the deck. Just a couple of interesting notes. I mean, you can't scale Time Gazer unless you control no monsters, so that is kind of annoying. But it is a searchable scale 8 if you don't count that. And then we got Chronograph, which can special summon itself and another monster. Sometimes you don't even need to special Time Gazer. If you just pop Wisdom Eye or pop Master Cerberus, you can start a new chain and then special Chronograph for free. And that can sometimes be enough. So next we got triple Dark Worm and double Gate 0. Dark Worm is the best when you open it with Pen Call, send it to the grave, special it, search that Gate 0. Gate 0 is a level 7, searchable low scale, use it for absolute material. Dark Worm can be annoying because not only is it a scale 5, which is not ideal, but also you can't use it as material for a Synchro or for an XYZ with Harmonizing Magician because Harmonizing requires another Magician. So double Dark Worm is not too good, but you can always use Dark Worm. If you can't use it for that material, you can always scale it and then pop it with Electromite and then draw 1 card. And then we got 3 Harmonizing Magician and 3 Wisdom Eye Magician. Wisdom Eye and Harmonizing are really the ace magicians here because Harmonizing is the one you want to pendulum summon out, and then Wisdom Eye is the one you want to use as scale because you can get whatever scales you need. Harmonizing, sometimes you don't have space for that extra magician that you're specialing from the deck, it being the 2-in-1 magician, but you can always use it as a scale if not, and just a solid card because it's a tuner, it's a level 4, it's really versatile. So, back to the normal build here. A lot of people play 2 Black Fang and 2 Purple Poison. That's how I have it now. Before I had hand traps, and I only had 1 of each. But Black Fangs having the 8DK can be really useful. Purple Poison is good too. I would say not quite as good as Black Fang, but these are the go-to high and low scales here. Then we got the double Oath Dragon. It's probably always better to have Oath Dragon than Purple Poison in the low scale, because you can plus off of it, and Oath Dragon's even a plus in the monster zone too. Sometimes you're going to have magicians in your graveyard because you're using them as XYZ material, but Oath Dragon's a solid card. You can go to Norito. I would say all these magicians solid to have it too. And we got the 1 Dragon Pit and the 1 Shianka, the level 7s. Dragon Pits are really solid in the scale zone because you can pop a back row. If they're playing annoying floodgates like Goes in Match or Rivalry, you can always pop them using Dragon Pit. Shianka's effect is a little less useful. I would say a lot less useful actually. I don't think I've ever used it using an XYZ monster. Its rank as if it were a level. But as a monster, Shianka negates light effects, so depends on who you're playing. If you're playing, I mean, I have a Tellarknight deck that would do well against Tellarknights, but it would also do well against ABCs or Cyber Dragon or Thunder. Some Thunders, some of them are dark too, but Shianka's pretty good. Then we got double Mist Valley Apex Avian. Not 3 of them this time, because you really never want to see 3 in your opening hand. Even 2 is hard to actually use both of them because, or to use any of them really, because you can't get any of them out if you don't have enough cards to actually make your Pendulum play. But sometimes your board is just, you don't even go into Electromite, you just make double Apex Avian and maybe a Jackal King. So that is a solid board. It's hard to get around, but I mean, it's not the ideal setup for pendulums, but only 2 of these guys, and it is a level 7, so you can use it for absolute. And then the card that I decided to main here, 2 Panco Tops. I thought a little too useful not to main. Of course, you could side it, and I sided the 3rd one, but if your opponent is playing Imperial Order or Anti-Spell, then there's pretty much no way around those cards in this deck. I mean, you could use Nightmare Phoenix in the extra deck, but you have to have 2 monsters on the field to do that, and that 1 card in your hand, of course, to discard. So Panco Tops, I feel, is just a solid out to a really annoying situation. And then for the spells, just standard stuff here. 3 Pot of Desires, 2 Pendulum Call, not 3, but 2. And then you got the cards to send, Dark Room to the Grave, 2 Dragon Shrine, and a Foolish. Just your typical Pendulum deck cards here. I mean, Pot of Desires will get your plus, Pendulum Call will search your scales, and maybe the Harmonizing to Pendulum Summon out. And then these are the cards, like I said, send Dark Room to the Grave. Usual stuff for the main deck. And then for the extra deck, let's start off with the links here. We got Heavy Metal Foes Electromite. After doing some playtesting, I really do feel like this card could be at 2. I mean, it's the main and go-to Pendulum-related link monster. I feel like it's kind of doing a disservice to Pendulum players to limit it, because it's really the only, it's not like there's multiple Pendulum-themed link monsters. This is really the one to if you're playing Pendulums, you need to run this card pretty much. So to limit it, I think is a little unfair. I wish it was at 2. That's just my 2 cents here. Anyway, Zephyr Metaltron, you make obvious play, make it using Absolute and Electromite. Then summon your Vortex where Zephyr Metaltron points to. Sometimes you can use Master Cerberus as material. If you maybe open 3 extenders, you have Master Cerberus, Foolish, and Chronograph. Use the latter 2 that I said, Chronograph and Foolish, to make your Electromite, and then you use Master Cerberus to get Jackal. Jackal summons Master Cerberus, and then you use Cerberus and Electromite to make Zephyr before your Pendulum summon. That can sometimes be a play if you really just want the arrows and you're not trying to go to make Vortex. You just want the 3 arrows to special from the extra deck. That is Zephyr Metaltron. Then when the 1 land, which is the backup Electromite because we can't run 2. And then Boral Sword, which is the card that one of the 2 cards that I didn't have in my previous build's extra deck, but really deadly card, Boral Sword. Happy to have it. Borreload is good too. I mean, Borreload will get you around problematic monsters, but Boral Sword opens up for so many OTK possibilities. Just really solid card, Boral Sword. Those are the links. And for the rank 4s here, I got Abyss Dweller, Tornado Dragon, Time Star, and Dark Rebellion. Just see solid rank 4s here. I mean, if you're going against certain graveyard reliant decks or back row reliant decks, these are really solid cards, these 2 right here, but they can also be completely irrelevant if they're not graveyard reliant or back row reliant at all. Then you're not going to go into them at all. Whereas Time Star is not quite as useful, it's quite as overwhelmingly powerful, but it will guaranteed get you a search. So I do have Time Star in here. And Dark Rebellion, I mean, sometimes you're going to have the OTK possibilities, but I got Boral Sword now, so not quite as needed. I mean, you could take this out, maybe put in Karen Gorgon, or even a Giant Hand, or an Honor Arc. Any of those will do. And then for the rank 6, we got the Norito. Rank 7, we got their Absolute. And to go with the Absolute, got Vortex, just Pendulum Magician, classic staple stuff here. Just negate spell and traps. Use Gate 0 or even Panco Tops or Apex Avian in this build. Panco Tops would do fine to make Absolute Dragon, of course, because it's a level 7. You could use its quick effect to destroy or just go into Vortex. Really up to you. And then for the synchros, you got Dawn Dragster, which you need Harmonizing and Time Gazer specifically to make, but it is worth it because it's just a very splashable generic level 7 synchro that you can use to negate spells and traps. Then you got Clear Wing and Ignis or Prominence removal, but I would say if you're going to pick one of these, it's good to have both, but if you're going to pick one, pick Ignis or Prominence because it doesn't target, doesn't destroy, and it can also get rid of back row, whereas Clearing will only clear up the monster zone, and it does destroy, but there are times where you want to clear up the monster zone and destroy all their face-up monsters, that Lightning Vortex on summon. But I would say Ignis or Prominence is the superior of the two. And then because that can sometimes be an issue if you're thinking about space, I would say pick that one, just to hammer in that point. Anyway, the last card is Borreload Savage Dragon, my new synchro. Hopefully you will have enough cards to make this on the first turn, and you can make your level 7 or 2 level 7s to make your Absolute, and then Absolute and Electromite to make Zephyra. And then if you had Harmonizing on the field, maybe you specialed Black Fang with Harmonizing, or maybe you have a Wisdomite in your hand that you haven't normal summoned yet, you can go into Borreload Savage Dragon, equip that Electromite that you used to make Zephyra from the grave to Borreload Savage Dragon to give it 3,900 ATK total. And then it gets 2 Boral counters, so you can negate. Just a really solid card. Unfortunately, doesn't destroy, but I don't know, maybe it'd be overpowered. I really can't say. I wouldn't say there are a whole lot of decks that can make use like the ideal use of Borreload Savage Dragon, but I'm lucky enough to have the deck I think that makes like the best use of this card. So I haven't done too much playtesting other than online with this card, but we'll see how it goes. And maybe if I go to a local, let's see how I do. Thanks for watching the video, guys, and have a good one. See you next time.